How's it going? I've got audio. You guys are probably saying, unfortunately. What's up, everybody? K1, GM, and one more M. Name is Steve over here in Vermont. And wanted to do this while it was fresh in my mind. So I've been chatting for a few weeks, and some of you know that, well, very few of you probably know that I've been looking at other transceivers, and I've been talking with the guys on Zello. And by the way, if you guys, you need to be licensed ham radio operators. That's the way it stands right now. The Zello channel is still up and going. And if you'd like to join that Zello group, type in Ham Radio Anonymous, all separate words. It is case sensitive, so H is capitalized, R is capitalized, and Radio Anonymous is capitalized. Do a search in Zello, ask to come in the channel, and you can be part of these conversations. Some really interesting stuff. Hey, Paul, how's it going? Paul knows. Paul's part of the Zello group. And we can all kind of knock around ideas and chat about this stuff. So good to see that there are some viewers. What's up, Ed? How are you? And I'm going to share some thought. We've been going around and around on this for a few weeks. And I thought, geez, there is so much here to consider. If you're looking at a new transceiver, I mean, how do you even go about it? How do you weed through all the stuff that's out there? Well, there's actually a lot to it. Well, I should say there could be a lot to it, unless you're a compulsive stroke impulsive person like I am. Then it's actually pretty easy. But there he is. Digital analog ham. What is going on there, Captain? So I'm not going to get into, because I just don't know enough about them. All the different types of transceivers and which one's better. And that's not what this video is about at all. At all. This is all about personal preference. It has to do with experience, how new you are in the hobby. Hey, Ron, how the heck are you? And European Championships, Champions League football. Very cool. Well, I hope I don't interfere with your football game. Hey, Rich, how's it going? I'll spend some time. I'll let things kind of percolate in the chat for a little bit. This I think will be very intriguing, hopefully, and it's given me a lot of things to think about. And this is second FTDX10 yesterday. Wow. That's cool. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Good choice, dude. Good choice. And there's Jonathan. So I'll let things continue to percolate. It looks like viewers are coming online, and I'll kind of go slow here. But once we get into this, it's going to be hot and heavy, fast and furious. So I couldn't get, the reason why I'm on this camera, by the way, it's my full view camera, which sits over there, obviously, right there. And I can't get my other camera to work. And the running joke with everybody is, dude, what kind of cameras are those that you need to let them heat up for them to work? And yeah, they have to get hot. They've been running for about an hour and a half. Usually it only takes 20 minutes for them to warm up, and they snap into focus and they're off and running. But don't ask me. I can't get my main camera to work, which is over here, my headshot, you know. It's all red and screwed up and fuzzy, and it just won't snap into shape. And one of the guys mentioned, they said, yeah, you must have tubes. They must be valve cameras. So you have to light them up and let them idle for a while so the tubes can get warm so they work. Needless to say, that's never happened before. It happened a lot on Discord, and I have to let them just kind of warm up, and then they snap into shape. But this one isn't snapping into shape, so it looks like I'm going to be replacing the cameras. That's for you, Dave M6ENS. He's been telling me I know which cameras I'm going to get. He gets them. They're not dirt cheap, but they're dynamite, man. Dave uses them. I can't remember exactly what they are, so I'm going to have to hit him up for that. And okay, looks like things are established. So here we go. If you're going to look for a transceiver, I'm going to tell you, just come out and tell you how I would approach this. And I'm going to tell you about the mistakes that I made. Now, I'm not quite sure if I regret the purchase, but I might. And the problem is I don't want this to offend anyone based upon the transceiver they have, but I'm going to go over some things as to what I've learned in the process. Now, first of all, I am a compulsive person. I was a compulsive person. I am not anymore. So I bought my first real HF transceiver on impulse. It was an impulse buy, and I'm going to be brutally honest. It was because I heard them on the air. I'm not even going to tell you what it was, but most of you guys know what it was and what it is. I still have it sitting here. I heard them on the air, and they were the best damn sounding transceiver I've ever heard right out of the box. You can't do anything wrong on the TX side. I didn't really pay much attention to the RX side of the coin, right? So, meh. That being said, do I regret it? Yeah, I do. In a way. I have thousands of hours on that transceiver barefoot on 100 watts, and it has never failed. I've never had to do a hard reset. It's been insanely reliable transceiver, right? And I'm going to get into that stuff and the things to consider. So my big question would be, I got to cramp my foot. Shoot. Help me. That's what I get for putting my legs up. Ow, ow, ow. Holy crap. All right. Oh. Help me, somebody. Oh, crap. It's so cold. My feet are cold. I'm trying to get them warm. Yeah, you're right. DAH. So my first question, sorry about that mental episode. Life alert, exactly, Ed. Oh my God, it's still trying to go into a cramp. I know, right? I need to take a potassium. I need a banana. Got to go up and get a banana. Anyways, I have some questions for anybody that would be considering a new transceiver. The first question is, how new are you to the hobby? Are you new? The reason why I said this is because of what I just said. That was like a personal testimony. All right. So, see, I ain't bashful, Jonathan. You know that. Most guys would probably kill the stream. You know me. I don't care. It is a little embarrassing, and I deserve it. So, are you new to the hobby? And I have all the notes here on my phone. So I can, because there's too much here to possibly remember. And just as a heads up, I'm going to miss stuff. This is not this is not completely comprehensive. I mean, I probably missed a ton of stuff, but this is basically a synopsis of how I would go about choosing a transceiver and what I would consider. Doesn't have necessarily everything to do with the transceiver. So are you new to the hobby? The reason why I say that is because bling is a huge thing, even to me. And I'm new. I'm still on training wheels. I've been in the hobby since 2015. So, and I will go ahead and say there's no substitute for experience. That's all I'll say about that. You can be like wicked book smart and wicked smart, but yeah, there's no substitute for experience. You've been in the hobby 30, 40, 50 years, man. You've seen a lot. Most likely. Most of the guys I know that have been in the hobby, yeah, a long time. And they've seen a lot. They've experienced a lot. And they know a lot. So if you're new to the hobby, based upon what I just mentioned, you know how you have a dog and you have, like, you know how bacon is, right? Well, we all love bacon. Well, you start cooking up some bacon and in the kitchen, throw some bacon in a pan and start cooking it. What do you think the dog's going to do? The dog's going to go freaking ballistic, man. It's kind of like that when you first come into the hobby. I shouldn't say when you first come into the hobby. Hopefully you guys are a little bit more cerebral than I was. I was more impulsive, but I'm going to try and prevent someone from making that mistake. This is what this is all about. Get you thinking about stuff, right? So, yeah, dog's going to go mental, man. I call that like a sensory bling with your nose, you know? It's that sense. You smell it, you know the smell of bacon anywhere. It just does something to people. Bacon, and I've read about this too. And now picture a dog that has a sense of smell thousands of times greater than a human, right? That dog will smell that bacon cooking, you know, a block away. You know what I mean? And he gets excited, man. And that's what happens. We see all this technology out there and we go, oh yeah, you know, look at that. I want that. Ooh, that'd be cool. On top of that, so you take that and you compound, you heap on the other thing where you have a trend. So you're over at a friend's house and he's got this radio sitting there and he's like, oh yeah, this is great. And it might be great, whatever. I'm not disputing that. And then you're listening around the band and you're new to the hobby and you're in the market for a transceiver and you hear all these guys and geez, they're on the same transceiver. Holy crap, this must be great. I'm going to go out and buy that, right? Haven't thought through it far enough. I'm going to hit you with a ton of crap to think about. Now, are you old in the hobby? Have you been in the hobby a long time? Well, in my mind, there's two types of guys, gals, YLs that have been in the hobby for a long time. One type is the type that is making a significant upgrade from an old boat anchor, right? We're talking a radio that's like 25, 30, 40, 50 years old, right? Whole different technology out there now. I mean, these things like make you breakfast, lunch, and freaking dinner. And they interface seamlessly to a computer and blah, blah, blah. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But, and then you have the second type of ham that is wealthy enough to he doesn't care. He'll just buy a transceiver. I know guys that do that. I know someone that spent 40 grand in 1 year buying used transceivers just to try out different transceivers. And he'd try them and then he'd turn around and sell them and he'd make money on them. So let me check into the chat quick. I don't want to interrupt it. K5WXP, how you doing? Ed's in there. There's John Boy. Okay, it looks like GB2 SSW. I think that's SSW. I'm sorry if I messed that up. Or is it GB26 SW? Sorry about that. Is that John? Ron, how you doing? I can't see the other one. Mervin. I'm sorry, dude. I can't see because I don't have my glasses. Andy, how's it going? Okay, we're up to date. We're caught up. So, two types of hams. You know, the old guys, been in the hobby for a long time. Maybe they're looking for a massive upgrade from an old boat anchor, right? then you have the other type of old school ham that's been around quite a while, and they just want to try different transceivers, which is great. I wish I had the money to do that. That's like the ultimate, right? Just take some money, plop it down, go buy a transceiver you're interested in, try it, work through a whole slew of transceivers to figure out what suits you and blah, blah, blah. And with that segue, all right, we get into what to look at when you're looking at a transceiver, right? So I kind of got the cart before the horse a little bit, but this is extremely important, and it's important to me. So reliability and functionality of the transceiver, regardless of what transceiver it is. When you see a brand new transceiver hit the market, should you go out and just when you see, let's say you take the Sherwood reports, whatever, right? You see all the bells and whistles and all the technology on it. Should you go out and just drop your hard-earned money? And I'm talking, some of these transceivers are like $4,000 for these things, sometimes more. Should you just go down and bang, drop the money down? If you can, and you don't care about the reliability and the functionality in the real world, go for it. Power to you, man. Wish I could do that. Can't do it. And this channel is all about cheap and, affordable. I do not have a lot of money to just throw around. So that being said, and just a quick note, my first transceiver, for the guys that are just coming into the hobby, here's some advice. If you're lucky enough and you're friends, I would say establish, whether you like clubs or not, get involved with a club if you can tolerate the politics. There are some good clubs around, but make some friends. I had a friend drop a TS430S into my hands free. My first transceiver I didn't even pay for. And I can tell you, I love the receive on. That's a freaking 30-year-old radio or something like that. I don't know how old they are. They're old. Kenwood TS430S? Heck yeah, man. I still have memories of that transceiver. Will you work the world on that transceiver with a decent antenna, as opposed to a $12,000 7851 on a piece of crap of an antenna? Hell yeah, dude. That radio right there will eat a 7851 for lunch on a piece of crap antenna. You'll still work the world. It'll put out 100 watts, 10 watts if you're across the pond. It'll work. I know a lot of guys still run them. There you go. Just a little more personal information. And I love the receive on that radio. It was classic Kenwood. It was beautiful to listen to. All right. So, and I ain't selling a radio. Just a story, just some information. So reliability and functionality. My advice would be, if you're looking at, and I'm talking a new transceiver that just hit the market. It was just, released from a manufacturer. In my mind, that's a game of Russian roulette. Knowing what I know now, I would sit back, I would take my foot off the gas, and I would just do some looking around. Check the boards, check the forums, see if anybody's having any issues with them. Because the last thing you want to do is drop $3 or $4 grand on a transceiver and have the thing go down the second time you key it up, which is real. It's a real possibility. All you have to do is go in and look at some of these boards and chat rooms and stuff like that, forums, and guys are like ultra pissed off. All right, you drop like $4 grand on a transceiver, second time you key it up, and the finals go pop. And now you're waiting 6 months to get it back. If you're loaded, who cares? You probably got another 30 grand of transceivers sitting there. You'll just use one of the other ones. For most of us, no, it doesn't work like that. So my advice would be to take your foot off the gas and wait a little bit, as long as you can. That's where the impulse thing comes in, right? That's the first little tidbit I would suggest. The second thing is, how computer savvy are you? You're asking, you'd say to me right now, well, what does a computer have anything to do with a ham radio transceiver? Oh, actually a lot. A lot. Everything today is all computerized. There's a computer involved somewhere in 99.99% of all the different aspects of ham radio, be it logging, be it running digital modes, decoding stuff. Some of the radios do it right themselves without even the computer. That's really cool, right? So how computer savvy you are automatically will push you in a specific direction as to what type of transceiver you're going to look at and how far you want to go with it, right? Your phone just shut off. Come on. There we go. So take that into consideration when you're looking at a transceiver. And this kind of ties into what's coming, and you'll understand this. Look at the technology on the market. Basically, you've got, in my mind, I could miss something here, but you've got three different basic levels of technology when you're looking at a ham radio transceiver. You're looking at what I call true full-blown SDR technology. You're looking at a conventional superhet style technology. If you don't know what that is, look it up. And then you're looking at hybrid technology. One manufacturer in particular is touting their radios as hybrids, i.e. FTDX10, FTDX101D, MP, stuff like that. Those are hybrids. They use a certain element of SDR technology. So, excuse me. Sorry about that. And that ties into the computer savviness. Okay, SDR, true full-blown SDR technology, except for, let's say, an M series Flex or an MB1 from Expert, they are capable of being run without a computer. They have basically a control surface built into the radio. So you can run them either way. But for the most part, generally SDR transceivers, you need a computer and you need to be somewhat computer savvy. Oftentimes you need some sort of skill in IT, connectivity and stuff like that, especially when you're talking running additional pieces of software which are locked up to the radio. Now, I know everybody's sitting there, they're like, yeah, we know all this stuff. But remember, I'm talking to people who have never played with this stuff before, or new hams that are just coming into the hobby. They don't know what's out there. I didn't. I had no clue. So, okay. So that being said, what your computer and it also depends on how much you want to learn, right? How far do you want to go? What do you want to learn? How much do you want to be challenged? Because I can tell you some of this technology can be incredibly challenging. And it can be a very good experience or an absolutely horrific experience. I know personally people who have tried full-blown SDR technology and they walked away from it and they went back to a conventional radio because it was just a pain in the royal ass to them. And I can understand that because I just had a situation, two situations in the past 2 days that have never happened before with this particular radio in the past 2 years. So, Oh, John, I know. Oh, okay. Here, let me grab John, or let me grab John. John, I'll do this to you too. So I'm going to hold my microphone and I'm going to hug him and I'm going to squeeze him and I'm going to call him George. How's that? How's that, John? Did that do it for you? Anyways, yeah, where was I? I got to stop looking at the chat because you guys are all nuts. There's Mikey. What's going on there, Mikey? And So yeah, and feel free to put what you guys are running in there. Don't just put what you're running because that doesn't help anyone. Tell people why you're running it. Put it in the chat. What do you like about your rig? Go ahead and put it in there, man. People will see this video and they will go through and they'll see that. Information is power. That's what I'm doing. I'm sharing information. Just telling someone what you, and I'm not chastising you, K5WXP. Love you to death, dude. But why are you running that? Why are you set up like that? Don't worry about it if the chat is limited. Throw in multiple posts. I don't care. Information is power. So, okay. So we covered all that. SDRs, conventional super hats, old, which really isn't old school. I know super hats right now. I could rattle off a few of them that will absolutely eat a 7300 for lunch on the RX side. Humiliating. It will humiliate them. I've seen it with my own eyes. Okay. So don't pay any attention to all this SDR. Ooh, I got to have an SDR. Take that, put that on the back burner right now. I'm going to go ahead and say it. SDR is overrated. All right. There's some things that true SDRs do that are truly remarkable. I'll give you an example. Okay. Yesterday afternoon, I was working in the upper end of 40 meters. Now, AM broadcast was starting to come in, and I have a beam on 40, and I was ported southwest, and AM broadcast was coming in from Europe. So I was just talking to Glenn about this, Glenn and Dave on Zello before I jumped in here. And I'm glad I remembered this because I wanted to share this. Here's one very cool, amazing capability of true full-blown SDRs. So I'm listening to this guy. I'm working with it in QSO with a guy, and the AM carriers were starting to come up, and they were kicking in my back door, and I get like AM broadcasts in here 20, 30 over. If I were to flip that array at that time, they probably would have gone close to 20 over, and it was getting a little tough to hear them. And I went, oh, duh. I was on the sun, so I placed multiple notch filters. Click, click, click with the mouse, expanded the screen out, expanded the notch filters out, grabbed them with the mouse and moved them around, completely wiped out the carriers. Gone. Didn't even hear them until then the modulation started creeping in. Got stronger and stronger and stronger, and that's where it got pretty difficult because the modulation on those AM broadcast stations, they're wide, and when they get strong, forget it, man. Unless somebody's like 40 over, I ain't going to hear them. So that's just an example. Hey, Randy, how's it going? And so that's just an example. So you can do some reading about that and blah, blah, blah. Educate yourself. All right. The other thing I wanted to cover, and this is from I'm purely a practical creature. Okay. And as you guys know, the sounds of things are very important to me. If you can go to, let's say, an HRO or a DX engineering, a lot of us can't do that. Go in and listen to some of these transceivers. All right, just listen to them. I can tell you that some are incredibly brittle. They're very bright. Some of them have a beautiful tonal quality to them. I'm not going to tell you what I prefer in transceivers, but I can tell you that I don't like a transceiver that sounds like someone's driving a freaking railroad spike through my temple. Very difficult and actually very difficult at times to understand what people are saying because it's so brittle and so bright. I can't stomach that. Some people love it because of the clarity. I need it subdued a little bit. I'm a little sensitive to that. So that's just me personally. So that being said, what type of sound do you want? Because the RX side of the transceiver is the most important thing. I'm going to tell you right now, if you can't hear them, you can't work them. You want a transceiver that has great sensitivity, selectivity, and a low natural native noise floor. And I can tell you some transceivers have a high noise floor. Beware. You'll notice that. I can tell you the difference between the Anon and the Sun. Freaking noise floor on the Anon is through the freaking roof. I hear things, now granted, it's a very hot front end, right? It's insanely hot. Hears everything, and that could be a problem. I'll light up the Sun, and I don't have any humps, noise across the pan adapter. I can hear everything on the Sun that I hear on the Anon. That's the honest to God truth. But the Anon, it's like nitromethane rocket fuel poured onto the freaking RX side. It's got humps across pan adapter, and there's noise popping up all over the place. I light up the Sun, it's not even there, so something important to consider. All right, the sound, selectivity, sensitivity, noise floor. Check that out. And you guys can go back through this video and kind of, because there's a lot here, right? A lot. And I'm probably not going to touch on even a fraction of it, but these are the most important things to me. If I'm looking at a new transceiver, heck yeah, these are really important to me. Knowing what I know now, okay? Excuse me. Here's a big one. When you go to look at a transceiver, what are you into? What are your goals? What would you consider your wheelhouse to be? This is a loaded one, and this is huge in transceiver selection. And you may not know this because you may be new in the hobby, but this will give you something to think about. Okay, you can go in and watch, you don't have to watch my videos. There's plenty of other videos out there, but I do all kinds of stuff. I do a little bit of contesting. I do a little bit of DXing. I do some rag chewing. I have systems in place for all of those applications. I have very specific, I know which transceiver personally I prefer for each application. I have noise issues sometimes, so I have a transceiver which just works great in dealing with QRM, man-made noise, EMI type stuff, plasma TVs, noisy telephone lines, bad transformers on a pole, right? All these things to consider. So what would you consider your wheelhouse to be? Do you do a lot of DXing? Do you do contesting? Do you spend most of your time rag chewing? Do you do a lot of CW? See, Jonathan can talk about getting control over a front end. If he does a lot of CW, KK7PW, he's in here. Is that the most, do you spend most of your time on CW? I can tell you, if you want to see some fantastic presentations, this guy knows his crap, and I have already learned an immense amount from N4HNH. I'm going to go ahead and plug his channel. I don't know him. I've never talked to him. But I'm telling you right now, go check N4HNH's channel out. That guy, what he comes out with and he demonstrates will bake your freaking noodle. Yeah, good stuff, man. And he was, watching his stuff kind of prompted me to do this because it changed a little bit of what I look at when I look for a transceiver. So figure out what if you can, figure out what your interests are, go in and watch some videos, say, ooh, I'd like to do that. Okay. Well, if you want to spend most of your time DXing, CW, if you fancy yourself doing a lot of weak signal work, that's cool. Hey, can you do the other stuff? Sure. Any radio will work for all that stuff, but there are some radios that are very, very strong in the weak signal department. And that has a lot to do with the control you get over the front end, the filtering. I can tell you that not all radios are created equal. In the real world, there is a huge difference between transceivers. And that's why I'm doing this. I'll throw it out there. It's a tough thing to work through. It's difficult unless you have 10 grand to just throw around like whatever. Okay, what are your goals and interests? I covered that. And of course, your operating style, if you're kind of a veteran or you've been on the air for a while, what's your operating style, right? Do you want to click a button and go? Like just walk into the shack, boom, hit the power supply, push the power button on the radio, off and running. That 891 is an awesome radio, dude. K5WXP. Glenn has one, K4GHC. Incredibly capable for what it is. It's a little, I don't know if you guys know what an 891 is. It's this little mobile radio, right? First time I heard one, it was a few years ago. And again, I'm not plugging a radio, but geez, I think N4H&H, what do you say he paid for that? Like $500 or something? I'm telling you, dude, that 891 will smoke a lot of full-blown base station rigs out there. It'll humiliate them. The front end of that thing is awesome, the control you get. Great transceiver for $500. God, you could probably pick one up for like $350, $400 for crying out loud. That's a killer. So in N4H&H, he'll show you, man. He doesn't talk smack. He ain't blowing smoke up anybody's asses. He's a real deal. He'll show you in real time what they can do, and the difference between the other transceivers, which is fascinating to me. I love it. I wish more guys would actually do that and go do deep dives into these things. He's like the only one I've ever found that does a deep dive into these transceivers. See, I look at the chat and I get sidetracked. Okay. Yeah. So for those of you who are new, you may not know it. So you can go in and watch some videos and kind of make a decision as to, geez, what do I think I'd like to get into, and that will kind of put you in a direction of what type of transceiver to get. If you like rag chewing at 4 kilohertz, 6 kilohertz, 8 kilohertz, well, that kind of pushes you in a direction. SDR is great for that. You run as wide as you freaking want. If you're a DXer, who cares? You don't need an SDR for that. Basically, yeah, I'm not going down there. But you see where I'm going. All right, for the guys that are old school, that have been in the hobby for a while, that have their operating style established, that have their interests, they know what they're interested in, well, there you go. That automatically moves you into a block of transceivers that would be nice options for you, right? Okay. Here's a big one. And this is something I'm going to cover in what I'm labeling the fireside rant. It's coming once a week. I'm going to do a fireside rant, and it's not going to be, generally, they're not going to be a full-blown fiery rant, but it is something I'm going to cover. And it's what I call the joy of operating. It has to be fun. All right. I hear a lot of people say they buy a transceiver, and I'll say this quote for quote, as someone said to me. This is what they said to me. They said, yeah, but it's fun. They spend most of their time tweaking, trying to get a transceiver to work the way they want it to work. And for some people, that's a lot of fun. If that's your wheelhouse, score. There are transceivers out there that require a lot of tweaking. You've heard me talk about it. And if you want to learn, it's a good learning experience. But the sheer joy of getting on the air and communicating, in my mind, that's what this hobby is all about. Take all of this other stuff and throw it right in the friggin' cylindrical file. It doesn't matter when it all comes down to it. Just the sheer, are you having fun? Are you going to have fun with this transceiver? Are you going to learn? Great. Another huge thing I wanted to talk about was, is it inspirational? I'll give you a quick example. So let's say you've been in the hobby for a while, and this is where I'm at, okay? I haven't been in the hobby a long time. Like I said, 2015, upgraded to general, 16 extra in 2017. Now, I've been a musician all my life. So let me tell you a story, and this fits right in with any hobby, or especially this hobby in ham radio. I think it does. May not with you. I hear a lot of people talk about kind of stale, right? You get stale, you get bored. You're kind of like, I know a lot of people. How many hams do we all know that have left the hobby over a 30-year period, 40-year period, 50-year period, and come back and left again and come back and left again and come back? They sell all their stuff and they have to buy it again, right? So here's the story. Being a musician all my life, I've hit points in that journey where things have become stale. Kind of get bored. I'm like, bleh. You know how you ever get like that? Bleh. It's just, whatever. You know what I mean? You kind of doesn't do anything for you anymore. What do you think I did? So you can't see them, but the drums are all stacked up over there because I can't use them because the wife's working from home now. And during the day, I can't be shaking the house. So they're packed up. Eventually, I'm going to bust them back out, man. I'm going back to work, do some playing. But I kind of get stale, So what do you think I did? I grabbed $200 or $300. And this didn't happen all the time. We're talking maybe every 6 years, 5 years. There's a long period of time between each one of these mental episodes I would have. So I go over to a big music store, let's say Sam Ash or something like that. And I would go over and look at cymbals. For those of you who aren't musicians, you're like, I'm switched off. I don't care. But listen to this, because this is interesting. And I will stake my life on it. This is true. I know a lot of people. Actually, I got the idea to do this from someone. So, and it worked. I was like, holy crap. So I go over to a place like Sam Ash, right? And they got like a wall of cymbals. All different kinds of cymbals, Chinese cymbals, special effects cymbals, traditional crashes with all different tones, bright, dark, short decay, long decay, different types of rides, maybe a new hi-hat will come out, right? So I go over there and I start playing with cymbals. And I would walk out with a hardware to mount it and a new cymbal. And you know what? I was completely re-inspired because it completely changed the way I played. No joke. I learned, I started working on different things. Sometimes in the playing, there'd be certain accents that I was always frustrated about that I couldn't do because I didn't have the proper tool to do it. The proper cymbal with the right effect to accomplish that, right? So it's inspiration. I was inspired. Yeah, Neil Peart. Oh, you can't see it. It's behind the curtain. I got a beautiful poster of Neil Peart. This is from Hold Your Fire Tour. Yeah, you look at his kit. Guys like that. Everything is used, and it's all for a very specific purpose. Every crash, every accent you make on a drum kit should be cerebral. It should be purposeful, and all of the different crashes that you see on a drum kit, you'll think to yourself, well, why do you need so many cymbals? Pay attention. Pay attention. They're all used for very specific things. It's fascinating. And it is totally inspirational. So enter the hobby, ham radio hobby. You get stale. You get bored. New transceiver is great, man. It really is. You get bored. You get stale. I'm not telling you what to do, but start looking around. Look for a new transceiver. I guarantee you it'll be inspirational, and sometimes it will reignite the passion and reignite the fire that you once had. I'm so tempted to go into this is going to be a whole separate stream. I'm going to go into that. And it's going to be a personal testimony as to where I've been in the past 2 years, 3 years, and what I've almost been on the precipice of. Okay. So, okay, inspiration. You can treat it as something, you can look at it that way. It's huge. It's real. Don't shy away from that. Don't hold back from that. Have a realistic expectation, but really determine why. Why am I looking at this? And I had to ask myself that in the past, few weeks, because I've been very tempted to do a knee-jerk impulse. If I buy another transceiver, most likely 2 transceivers here will have to go. And they're used for very specific things. So I'd have to figure that one out. And I haven't yet. So the foot comes off the gas and I have to do a little bit more research. And a lot of you are probably saying, holy crap, dude, just crap or get off the pot. It comes to that point where you have to make a decision. You can't stay in the decision-making process forever. Sooner or later, you're going to have to knuckle up and pull the trigger, right? So this is the last thing I wanted to go over. And this is huge, all right? And this has to do with communicating. I'm saying you're already established on the air. You may have a transceiver, but you're looking for something else. Not a new ham. A new ham, but if you've been on the air for, let's say, a month to a year, if you were like I was, man, I was on the radio 6 hours a day. When I got my ticket, I was like, woohoo, guns freaking blazing, man. I was in it to win it. I still love it, but boy, I was crazy. Drove the wife completely up the freaking wall. All hours of the day, right into the night. You know, I was nuts, off the rails. I had a great time. The biggest thing I can communicate to you is don't let anybody push their Kool-Aid on you. Okay? Kool-Aid is never just Kool-Aid. It is spiked. It's always spiked with some kind of hard liquor or narcotic or something like that to get you thinking in a certain way. It's called MK Ultra. It's called programming. It's called narrative. We all know about that now, don't we? That's what the Kool-Aid is. So you'll come across, oh yeah, you know, you really should get this. This is great. Take everything with a grain of salt. Pull back. Listen and appreciate what people are sharing, but how is that particular thing that they're pushing on you and raving about? And yes, it could be phenomenal. It could be incredible. Amazing technology. Is it going to do what I want it to do? Does it fit my wheelhouse as far as operating style? Is it practical? All those things we talked about. Resist the Kool-Aid is what I'm trying to say. Don't drink it. Don't drink it. Take a step back. Think about it. Acknowledge what people are sharing with you, including me. Okay? Including me. Take a step back. Make sure you look at it through a clear lens. No rose-colored glasses here, folks. Take the rose-colored glasses off. They don't exist. And this kind of goes hand in hand with the very last thing I'm going to cover. And that is brand loyalty. I can't tell you how many people I know that are brand loyal, that I've come across, that will not even, I was one of them. I was one of them. How many people I have come across that, no, don't talk to me about that transceiver, that brand. Don't talk to me about ICOM. Don't talk to me about Kenwood. Don't talk to me about Yaesu. They're junk. You know, I'll never look at one. Anon, Sun, Flex, crap, Zygu. Cheap SDR transceiver that's incredibly capable. You know, I ain't selling it. Do what you want. But, you know, well, you know, I had an ICOM years ago, or I had a Yaesu or a Kenwood or whatever years ago. I think it was the biggest piece of crap I've ever seen. Brand loyalty will screw you over in the end. I'm going to tell you how I roll. I don't care who makes it. The only thing I care about is whether it does what I want it to do. That's what it all comes down to. Will the transceiver you're looking at do what you want it to do? Tough one, isn't it? Tough one. Hey, Dan, how's it going? And Jay, what's going on, dude? So that's basically it. What I should have done is I should have taken this and I should have put it up with a complete text so people wouldn't have to watch this video. So that's my bad. But it's nice because I get to connect with you, all of you in here. And sometimes it's more fun to listen than to read, right? Anyways, I appreciate you all stopping in here. Don't let anybody tell you what to do. Don't let anybody tell you what to buy. Use what I shared here as a tool, as a suggestion. Like I said, there's probably a lot more that I missed. 718. Very inexpensive radio and very effective radio. That was almost my first transceiver. I had a guy, a good friend of mine in Florida, when I came off of 11 meters, and I was talking to him about a radio, and he said, how much money you want to spend? I said, well, and that's the other thing too I didn't cover. Budget is a huge thing. I can't believe I didn't cover that. Budget is huge. How much money do you want to spend? Do you want to spend $500? Do you want to spend $3,000? Do you want to spend $5,000? Well, that's going to automatically put you in a certain type range of transceivers, right? And don't let anybody tell you that there are no inexpensive, good transceivers out there. Bull freaking crap. That is a blatant lie, and that's an ignorant statement. All right? Seriously, totally ignorant statement. Be careful. Like I said, the Kool-Aid is huge. Don't drink it. You drink it, you're screwed. And don't be like me where you bought something out of impulse and then realized a month later, a year later, 2 years later, my money's precious, man. I can't go around just throwing thousands of dollars around. So I want to make a good decision. Damn, I wish I knew this 7 years ago. I wish I knew all of this 7 years ago because I would not have made that mistake. You know, so that's it, guys. Have a good one. We'll catch y'all later. And what do we got? Holy cow. This was a long one. This is supposed to be somewhat short. It's 20:04. I got 10 minutes. I got to get out of here, go get my daughter, and I got to leave here in 9 minutes. So, wow. 7-3, have a good rest of the day. Much more to come. There's a lot of this stuff. Kind of look for the fireside rants coming. They're going to be a lot of fun. And just observations that I've had. And the list is building. So here we go, guys. We'll catch you later. Thanks so much for your support on the channel. I really appreciate it, you guys. If you're annoyed, don't bother to do this. Subscribe, hit the bell icon, and make sure you enable the notifications so you see what's coming and you see when something goes up. Have a good one. All the best, sir, guys. K1GMM, Steve, I'm out.